cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Thank you guys for the support. Yesterday's video, I think we might have made the 1,500 likes we were trying to get. So again, today let's try to engage with the video. Let's force YouTube to give me a little bit more action. Let's try to get to 1,500 likes. Let's share the video wherever we think we can, and leave a comment. All of these things help the channel. That said, today, today's video, well, let's just get into it. It stems from a conversation I had yesterday with my primo about keeping things in perspective. Right, so that's what that's what the message in this video to me is. This story is: keep shit in perspective. So in the 90s, there were homies from San Diego that were involved in stuff across the border. They've made they've talked about it like in I think they did a series on it on Netflix, something like that. So this is not anything that isn't known, right? There was a lot of homies from San Diego that were going across the border during the guerra over there, and they were involved in a lot of stuff. And this story has to do with that. So I'm coming back from court one day, fighting my case. It may have been 1994 at this point. And when they let me through a door, I see some bottles laid out in the hallway, bullshitting, right? And I see one of them. It's a bottle from San Diego that I know. And Vatos from San Diego, when I tell the story that were involved, they're gonna know exactly who he was. I don't want to say his name or his neighborhood. Okay. But I see him, and as soon as I see him, I was like, "Hey, Holmes," and I called his name out. And he when he looked at me, his eyes were big, and immediately I knew, because initially I only saw the profile of him, and I knew it was him. But when he looked at me, I was like, "Oh shit. This dude got fucked off somehow." You could tell he had a fake eye, you know, and he had a scar right here. But I had to keep it moving, right? So, but he was like, at first he was like, and then he was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, homie?" When he recognized me, right? So I keep it pushing. Go to my unit, ain't nothing. You know, I just seen the dude, you know, he's from San Diego. He's out here, you know. Well, it just so happens the very next day I go to court. And who do I see on my court chain? Homeboy from San Diego. And then we wind up getting put in the same tank. So when we get in the tank, us being white babies, you know, we bullshit. So I get in there with them. I said, "Man, what the fuck happened to you, homie? You're fucking shot out now." And this is the story that he tells me. He said, "You heard about what's going on down there in Tijuana?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You heard about that thing that happened with the Cardinal?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, I was a part of a lot of that stuff, you know, this and this and that." And I was like, is that right? You know, people talk just to talk, whatever. And he says that on a holiday that they did, that he was the last one. He had dropped everybody off in the crew. And he was the last one, and he had you know, he was putting away the guns in the van. He was the last one, you know, like I said, he dropped everybody off. And when he got out of the van, he parked the van in a spot that was agreed upon, and he gets out and he says he's walking down an alley. As he's walking down an alley, he just starts getting shot in the back. Oh, he drops. He doesn't have a gun on him because he left it in the van. He's about to leave Mexico, right? Job was done. This is the story he's telling me. He gets shot 13 times. One of them was point blank. They put the barrel of the gun here, and it blew this eye out. And he said he was kind of like, he saw the flash. You know, if anybody's been hit in the eye good, you know, you should get that little Kodak flash, right? There's a lot of youngsters that are like, what the fuck is a Kodak? It's an old camera. Flash. Anyways, he said he saw that, and like he said he thought he was dead, and then like he felt him grab him by his hair, pulled his head up, and they stabbed him right here. And then they dropped his head, left him for dead. He said his vision started coming back. It was fucked up. But he could see them walking down the alley, leaving. And he closed his eyes to die. Okay? Now, I get to New Folsom. And one of his homeboys from his barrio is in orientation with me, right? So I'm like, oh, you know your homeboy so-and-so? And he's like, how do you know him? I said, I was in YA with him, but he's busted right now. He goes, really? Where's he at? I said, I don't know. Last time I saw him was in Wasco, but I said, man, he's all fucked up. He got all shot up, this and this and that. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, did he tell you how he got shot up? I said, yeah. He goes, how'd he get shot up? And I run him down the same story I just told you guys. And the homie's laughing. And he said, so that's the story he's telling? I said, yeah. He said, that's funny, homie. He said, let me tell you the real story, eh? He said his own crew hit him. And I'm not going to get into all the details, but I'm going to tell you this. The homie had eyes on a certain chick. He had a certain woman that he was feeling, right? But she was feeling like the main dude in his crew. He was the one getting action. He was the one getting played. So this vato salts him up one day when nobody's around. It's just him and her. And he's like, man, you don't want to be with that guy right there. Don't you know how he gets his money? And she's like, yeah, he's a dope dealer like all you guys. And he's like, nah, he's a killer. You know all that shit happening in Mexico right now? He's doing it all. But don't tell him. Don't tell him you know. Because it could be dangerous, right? So he bounces, goes on his own way. That vato, his homeboy, shows up to try to hook up with that high nine. She's like, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And he's like, what? We were just cool. Like, what happened? She said, I know how you get your money. And he goes, what are you talking about? And she told him what his homeboy said. He was like, he said that shit? And he's like, look, he's just hating just to try to, get in between you and I. I'm a dope dealer. I don't get involved in no shit like that. And the call was made. Hey, homie's talking too much. Now, the homie that's in the joint with me telling me the story, he's like, look, he's not a rat. He never cooperated, nothing like that. But within the crew, over a high night, him to do something like that, they came to the understanding that, we can't trust him no more. If he's willing to sell one of us out for some pussy, this is all bad. Let's just nip it in the bud now. And so his own crew moved on him. So now, getting back to keeping shit in perspective. So this vato says, and let me preface it with this. This conversation with my primo yesterday was because a friend of ours is pre-diabetic. Something happened to one of his toes, and now he's in the hospital. He's on day 3 of being in the hospital. As of today, he's on day 3 of being in the hospital and may lose his toe. And my primo was like, damn, homie, that's pretty bad, homie, this and that. And I was like, why? He still got every other part of his body. He still has his health, right? And he's like, yeah, homie, but when they start cutting, I said, well, when they start cutting, it's because they have to. It's all about keeping things in perspective. And I told him this story, and this is where we're going to pick back up. So this vato was left for dead, wherever he was left for dead, whether it was an alley, wherever the fuck it was, right? He wakes up. I don't know if he was in a coma. I don't remember that part. He probably was. But he wakes up in a hospital room in San Diego. He says he looks down and he just sees wires and tubes and all kinds of shit coming out of his body, right? And he can only see out of one eye, right? And he's looking around at his family that's there. And they all have like these faces that are like, this is so bad. This is so terrible. And then the doctor walks in. And the doctor has the same look. Like, fuck, man, And he says, look, I have some bad news for you. And the homie's like, what is it? And he said, you lost your eye. We tried, but it was destroyed, and we weren't able to save your eye, this and that. And the homie said he looked at the doctor for a second, and then he just busted laughing. And it was painful for him, but he couldn't stop it. And he said everybody in the room looked at him and said, like, they looked at him like, this motherfucker crazy? And he asked the doctor, how many times did I get shot? He said 13. He said, and I got stabbed? He said, yeah. He said, and you think I'm fucking worried about losing an eyeball? So he had shit in perspective. He got hit with a gun or guns 13 times. Got stabbed, was left for dead. He's in that hospital room. His family, he's breathing. He's been told he's going to survive. I think they had to put a plastic stomach in him, some shit. But he can still eat. He can still breathe. He can do everything that you and I can do right now. And everybody was concerned about the damn eyeball. Like my homeboy, I plan on going today to visit him in the hospital. And I'm going to tell him this story. I haven't told him this story yet because he was telling me. He called me yesterday, man. And it was the second day in the hospital, and I could tell he was down. And he says, man, homie, I don't know who to trust. I said, what you mean you don't know who to trust? He said, they're talking about doing these tests and figuring out if they have to do surgery on me or not. I said, well, they're talking about the right foot, right? They haven't mentioned the wrong foot yet, right? He said, no. I said, then why don't you trust them? If that toe got to go, it got to go. Whatever has to be done has to be done. And then you get to leave the hospital, go see your child, go see your lady, go back to work when you're healthy. We'll have a beer together when you can. Like, perspective, man. Everybody has a sad story. Some are just sadder than others. We got to remember that. No matter what you go through today, this week, last week, this month, next month, keep that shit in perspective. A motherfucker put himself in position to get slaughtered, and in that life, they were right. Their decision was right, because in that world, that's what the fuck happens. He survived it and said, man, fuck that eye. I had two of them to begin with. So hopefully this video helped you guys, man. anybody going through some shit right now, I've had a lot of people that are battling addiction, commenting. There you go, man. You're gonna have some dark days. You're gonna have some rough days, some tough days, days where you want to backslide. But what is that saying, man? I think it's an AA or it's an NA, and I'm probably gonna get it wrong. Let me think about it. It says, one is too much, 1,000 is never enough. Something like that. Talking about drinking. I think it's AA. Something like that. One is never enough, and one is too much, and 1,000 is never enough. So those of you dealing with addiction, I never had an addiction to substance, but keep things in perspective, man. Today might be rough. Tomorrow, even a week might be rough, man. But relapse, especially now with what they're putting in everything, can be very dangerous for you. Those of us, myself included, that are dealing with all this inflation, and we got Christmas coming up and we have this stress, and it ain't nothing. Maybe we're going to be late on some stuff. We'll make it up. All perspective, man. It's really only as bad as we make it in our minds. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.